But they've also tried to take some of the heat off of Trump by not only asking for the release of the Epstein files themselves, which they have subpoenaed, but they've asked to subpoena other high-profile figures, including Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering this week and where the story's going next. I'm Jim Antle, and I'm joined today by news editor Marisa Schultz. Marisa, we've been having all these Republican members of Congress go out and do their town halls, and I suppose Democrats are doing town hall meetings too now that they're back in their districts. And some of these people are not getting a very nice reception. Does that show us anything about what might happen in the midterms next year, or how are lawmakers responding to this?
Yeah, there are some Republicans that are doing town halls. It's not as common as you would think. In one instance,
because they're kind of telling them not to. They're discouraging them.
Yeah, that was kind of a memo earlier in the year too, to maybe resort to phone town halls where you can control a little bit more of like the response, and you can put people on mute if you need to, and kind of admit people into the town hall rather than have them be just right in front of you in the audience and hooting and hollering and being disruptive. But that said, there are some Republicans who have braved it, and one in particular is Representative Flood, who had a town hall this past week that was, and I should say he's from a very red district, and the people who showed up at the town hall were not necessarily representative of his district. And one can argue, it reflects like the activism on the left, and they sort of got people who are not necessarily voters in that district to come in. But nonetheless, it wasn't very friendly. Right. And he had a lot of people responding to him at the Big Beautiful Bill and made some comments that didn't go over well with the audience, and it was very controversial. That said, Republicans do have to sell this bill. It's not the most popular bill that they've had. Polling right now shows that the Big Beautiful Bill is underwater. So the Trump administration is trying to do more to sell it, and part of that is going to be actually talking to voters. Trump himself has asked his cabinet members to fan out and do some outreach in the states, so hopefully for their sake, that has more of an impact.
So another thing that has Democrats across the country pretty riled up is that Republican-led states are pushing mid-decade redistricting to try to potentially pad the GOP House majority ahead of the midterms. So have we seen where that might be mobile? It's certainly mobilizing Texas Democrats to go to Illinois. Might that mobilize Democrats in other places?
Yeah, so what you saw with this Texas redistricting is it's animated people way outside of Texas. I mean, you have Democratic governors, including Governor Newsom, Kathy Hochul, Pritzker in Illinois. You've had leaders from, including Hakeem Jeffries in charge of the House Democrats. They believe this is like a do or die issue. And the cynical take is like, of course they would, because it's a challenge to their power. I mean, if Republicans are successful in Texas and beyond, they could block Democrats from regaining the House come the 2026 midterms. But also Democrats would argue that, this is totally unfair. This is, a overt political move, and we need to fight fire with fire. So what you're seeing in places that are blue states, they're saying if Texas goes ahead and does this redistricting mid-cycle, they're going to try to do whatever they can in their own states to get more blue seats as well.
So one of the big political stories of this summer so far has been the Epstein files and how the White House has handled that, and how Congress has now tried to come in and maybe take some of the pressure off the White House, or maybe add in some cases to the pressure on the White House. What's some of the latest with on the congressional front with the Epstein stuff?
Yeah, so I think we've seen a little bit of cooling down. So in July, I think the Epstein files really came to a fever pitch. And part of that was brought on by Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, who at one point said she was going to release these files, and there was like a quote unquote list on her desk. And then none of that materialized. And so there was a lot of discontent in the MAGA base by feeling like they overpromised and underdelivered. Well, since then, there have been some new developments that have sort of tamped things down a little bit. And one of those is we've had the release of, I would say, the Obama files. And so the Tulsi Gabbard at the DNI, she unclassified a bunch of materials related to quote unquote Russiagate. And that seems to be, in some ways, to change the conversation. I mean, not to discount the the substance of it, but
Sure.
it has had the effect among the Republican base of changing the conversation a bit. And then with Congress, so Congress is on recess right now, so I think some of the tension has kind of come out of the public eye because you don't have people squabbling day to day about it in the halls of Congress. But they've also tried to take some of the heat off of Trump by not only asking for the release of the Epstein files themselves, which they have subpoenaed, but they've asked to subpoena other high-profile figures, including Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton.
Who have, Bill Clinton obviously, like Trump, palled around with Epstein in the old, I don't know if they were the good old days, but they were certainly the old days.
Yeah, so as the Epstein files, as more people are diving into it and going in the history of this convicted sex offender, more sort of dirt is coming up about the relationship that Trump had with them as well as the Clintons. And I should say off the bat, neither of them are, accused of wrongdoing or have any sort of that. Anything illegal, but I think it's a little bit of guilt by association. And some of that is like in Epstein's house in New York, there's like pictures of him and Trump and him and Melania and him and the Clintons. There's this like famous portrait of Clinton in the Epstein mansion in New York. So there definitely was a relationship. Whether, it was anything, problematic, I don't think there's any evidence of that. But by bringing the Clintons into this, it takes a little bit of the heat off of what the Trump administration may or may not be doing.
Thank you, Marisa. You can read Marisa and the rest of our political team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.